sans dire à tout.
What's going on, Jerk Faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. This conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back for another week of commentary, of fun, just try to kind of leave the world at the door, as it were. And
Oh, thank
as always with me, trying to keep all the shit out is the homeboy Rob.
what's going on, everybody? It's not easy. I trust me. Like I want to just have time away from the things that go on in the world that are everything's going crazy. Social media is nuts. The news is nuts. Uh, Going outside is kind of nuts right now. But you know what? Coming here on Tuesday, talking bullshit with you, good way to
Right?
good
Yeah.
thing.
What's
I was looking forward
what's
to it.
better than chopping it up with a homie? Kind of achieving catharsis.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. There's nothing better. In this humble podcaster's opinion, there's nothing better.
Oh
And
no, definitely not.
just forget. Yeah, just taking a couple, an hour or two, out of the day, and just enjoying the company just enjoying the company of a good friend, and again, just bullshitting it, bullshitting around, chopping it up, as it were.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't. Well, just I'm not gonna get into the tedium of asking about the weekend, but I'm gonna, I wanted to share a little something, just about me. Uh, that's been happening. I don't know why, but for some reason I've been really on this kick of wanting to build stuff. You know, I don't know. It may just be a manifestation of kind of like, because of the destruction I'm seeing around me nowadays. I just kind of want to just build things, and create. And Yeah, so I've been having a lot of ideas for different projects for myself. One of them being is kind of I don't well as some of you may know, I recently, well, last almost a year ago, bought a new car, and it's an SUV, and I kind of want to trick it out so I can enjoy it, and go camping and things like that. So one of the first things I want to build for myself is a camping shower, a solar powered
Oh,
camping shower.
ooh, that would
And
be fun.
yeah, and I've just been online and on YouTube, looking up different designs and configurations, and I think I found a setup that I really like, and I think that I could put my own like modifications to it. So yeah, just as soon as I'm able to start work again, and bring in some money, I think that'll be the one of the first projects I try to tackle for myself.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that would be fun. That's awesome. Yeah, something obviously I've been thinking about a lot. I've been uh really trying to focus on God a lot. It's especially this past week, just because in times of in evil times like we're in right now, and even when honestly I feel like the church is not responding very well in this time. It's I could be like I could be lamenting and say, oh, woe is me, and where the church is dying, all this stuff, blah blah blah. I could get down on myself or just get down in general. But I think it's kind of focused me more on I'm gonna get focused back on the word, focus on communing with God, communing with believers that I know have not bent the knee, as you will. And honestly, that's been really refreshing. And like I said, although I'm like really tired from work this month, uh, just the fact to be able to have that time, focusing on God, it's been really good. Uh, I feel my heart feels a lot better. We actually met up. You and I met up on Sunday with a friend of the podcast, Matt, and we're able to kind of just it's kind of an impromptu thing, just to be able to kind of worship together and to talk about the Bible together. Which you have no idea how much I really needed that. Oh man, I was so excited for it, and just to yeah, I felt like I felt really refreshed after that. Like the 'cause, like I said, church has been a little bit funky lately, so I just to be able to have the two or three gathered in in Christ's name, worshiping together was great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Just on Sunday, when we were together, I kept, but interestingly enough, I kept commenting like, man, this is the best apocalypse ever. And it's just, and
Yeah,
it's really focused me in a way that I, haven't been in a long time. I never felt closer to God than as I do in this time. For a long time, I've been carrying like this guilt, like that I'm not worthy, or even though I've been part of the church, or I've been reading scripture and praying. It's just I just felt like unworthy. I didn't feel like I measured up. Partly because I'm the age that I am, and I don't feel like I'm gaining much traction, and I think that's a feeling that a lot of men are having these days.
yeah,
Just kind of like this not measuring up to the generation before. I mean, because I'm way listen, I'm I'm past the age of my parents when they had me. So like you know I'm the age that I am that my parents like had me, and so
right.
it's just like it kind of gives kind of makes you take stock. It's like what are you doing with your life? What are you contributing? Are you you contributing like are you what kind of person are you? And particularly for the gentleman out there, it's like you kind of start questioning. It's like what kind of man are you? And I just I've been really wrestling with that the last few years, especially since I've been trying so hard to land a stable, reliable job. When all I can do is like pick up these one-off kind of gigs, and so it's like it's like really been stifling, and trying to build a life for myself, eventually even like start a family. Uh, but just more. But I think with the help of this, interestingly enough, with the help of this global pandemic, I think I've gotten closer to God, and started to feel that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
This is
you
the time. This is the time where I'm supposed to be, and I think this is because if the pandemic didn't happen, if the shutdown didn't happen, then who knows? Like where I'd be. I kind of would just be kind of coasting along on neutral, um,
yeah,
in the God stream, as opposed to like actively swimming through it, or swimming against, or kind of swimming against it, and like building up my spiritual muscles.
Yeah.
I know it's not biblical, but when there's a phrase that I always glob onto, and I kind of and I recite sometimes, like scripture, but it's from the TV show Battlestar Galactica, and it's you know, just because you don't know your direction doesn't mean you don't have one.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, and sometimes you know, just moving, you know, and not just physically moving, but just like progressing, doing things, you know, kind of keeping yourself busy, you know, is the move. You know,
Yeah.
it's you know because what's the other alternative that you just kind of stop altogether and you let your your mind and your body atrophy. No, you keep you keep moving. You keep your mind you keep your mind sharp as you can. You keep your body as tight as it can, and when the time comes, when it's time for you, when it's your time, when it's time for you to step up, you'll be ready.
Well, it kind of goes back to what we talked about on Sunday too. Like we were talking about what's it, First Thessalonians 5
Mm-hmm.
verses 16 through 18, and it talks about like to rejoice always, pray continuously, be thankful in all circumstances. Um, and honestly, like,
Yeah, that was always one of my favorite verses.
yeah, it's so simple, but yet despite its simplicity, it's really hard to implement, and it's very easy in a time like now, uh, believe it or not, to be depressed or get down on yourself or get down on the events of the world. And honestly, like I'm actually very thankful because there's actually been a lot of good things to look for. Me, I did not lose my job. In fact, I worked harder than I've worked in a long time.
You're, if anything, yeah, you've been working harder than probably anybody.
Yeah. And then at the same time, like I could be really depressed about like what's going on in church. And yeah, I am. But at the same time, I'm also very thankful that things are being exposed. And
Yeah. Hmm.
it's you're seeing those who are celebrating evil. They're out in the open now, and
Right.
it's easy to see. So okay, so I mean, that's something.
Right. Exactly.
Uh,
It's either of two scenarios. It's either the grass is removed and the lines are revealed, or it's the grass is removed and the deers are being revealed.
yeah.
And it's either
So
it's so it's either scenario it's a win because if you're if you're feeling small and powerless, then the tall grass is removed and now you can see where all the where all the predators are, and you can
yep,
run. But also, and then conversely, if you feel like that it's you need to take a stand against something, that now now the prey has been revealed, and now you're shot. You have your shot. You have your shots lined up, and you can take action.
yeah. But yeah, no, I'm just you know, it's been a wild year, but there is a lot to be thankful for. And um, honestly, even if like all like all the bad things had occurred for me, like like I don't have a job, I got sick, I had all sorts of things happen to me. I'm destitute again. Even if I had all that going on, if I had nothing, um, the thing I do have is the gospel message. I have my faith, and that's not going anywhere. And I think just the result I've not that like not to brag or be I'm not prideful about it, but I think um, God has kind of revealed to me the idea of just to not bend the knee to stay the course, not give in uh, to the celebration of evil, to God giving just some of the weird stuff that's going on
Mm.
with people nowadays. And you know what? Like I think there's going to come a time where my viewpoints, my faith are going to get my Christian philosophy is going to get me either outright, kind of exiled where I'm going to be alone, or I might end up dead. But you know what? That's all right.
Well, coming to the point of the first, being alone, uh, if you find yourself in that scenario, then count yourself lucky because you'd be effectively being kicked out of hell. They kicked you out of hell.
Works for me.
It's it's one of those it's one of those interesting perspectives that I've come to learn from Owen Benjamin. 'Cause he talks about his own story of how he used to be in the Hollywood pit, where it
Yeah,
was nothing but parties and groupies and and drugs and drinking. I mean, I don't think he ever partook of drugs except for like I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think he ever confessed to partaking in drugs.
yeah,
But he does confess that that he did like to drink and stuff like that. Like women were like throwing themselves at him. But then he takes this one stand. He takes this one stand, and it's the first domino. You know, and then more and more, and as
yeah,
he becomes more obstinate in his position, it's just like it's they kick him out of hell. They kick him out of the supposed promised land, but it's really hell.
yeah, yeah,
And so, I think for people like us, I think we could take. I think we should have the perspective of if they tell us, if they tell us to get lost, or they throw us out of town, then I think we should rejoice. I honestly think we should rejoice because we were kicked out of hell.
yeah. I mean, it works for me. But yeah, so that's kind of how like my week's been going. It's been a challenge, it's been a struggle, but at the same time, it's been so good.
Oh, if we're meeting this Sunday again, then I will be bringing a special treat for us.
Ooh, all right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I will be bringing because little hint, I was finally able to find some yeast.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
So
it's so weird. All the baking stuff has been just like
yeah, no,
gone.
because everyone and their fucking mother has been taking up baking
Yeah, I can
this
find toilet
this
paper, but I
lockdown.
can't find any baking goods.
So yeah, so every single time I go to the store, like the flour's gone and the yeast is gone. Um, of course, I should have capitalized because I saw one time I was at the store and then I saw that they had resupplied because every time I've gone the section where they had the flour was always empty. All you saw was like the residue of the flour on the shelf.
Yep.
Uh, but one time I did see that they had replenished the supply of flour, and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe that means like things are getting a little bit back to normal, and so like there'll be more flour. And so I get really excited, and I was able to find yeast at one store, and then I go to my local store, and what do you know? They're all out of flour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but luckily that didn't deter me, and so I went to another close by store where I live, and they actually had the flour, and so I was able to get flour, and now I have yeast, and then so now I'll kind of in that same spirit of creation, I'll be creating a very delicious and edible creation.
All right. Yeah, maybe I'll do some.
Right, you can never go wrong by in creation. It's better than destruction. Although destruction does have its place.
Yeah.
But
Well, all right.
that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, let's get
Yeah.
into tonight's agenda and
Where
start
do we
things.
start?
Well,
Do we
first
try to
let's
get
start.
sandwich?
No. I don't want
A
to.
shit.
I don't want shit sandwich. I just want to get this first shittiness out of the way, and then we could just kind of just bliss ourselves on the rest
Oh,
of the
what's
night.
for me? All right. So it's just like a shit frosting.
Yeah, right. Yes. Shit frosting. Kind of keeping to the baking analogy. Um, all right. So,
All right. We got an article. Oh
yes.
boy.
Mata. There it is. Okay. There you are. Beautiful. All right. For those of you who may not have heard, but just the day yesterday, the World Health Organization came out and said that asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is very rare. So
Imagine that.
yeah, right. You'll just have to imagine my surprise. Um,
This, this coming from the organization that was back in January, February, said that us buying masks is akin to killing healthcare workers, and that we should not buy masks. They're ineffective.
right.
Then they
Yeah,
came
because
back.
because all throughout this pandemic, we've been constantly be getting mixed messages or contradictory information. Even the premier epidemiologist, Dr. Anthony Fauci, initially he said like, oh, don't wear a mask, it's not gonna do anything. To then all of a sudden switching is like, oh yeah, wear masks. Like it doesn't even matter. Just wrap a scarf around your face, and I'll be fine. Even though I did come across some literature about that, where there was a study done where that they found that 94% of particles went through like cotton fabric masks,
Yeah,
and what is it? 44% of particles went through like the surgical or medical grade masks, and that like a lot of the what is it like pneumonia like uh, pathogens are like uh, or what is it? The masks only screen particles that are like 0.25 microns wide, but reports of the coronavirus have them even smaller than 0.25 microns, like zero point zero 0.04 to 0.13 microns wide. So
you know, I,
if that study is to be taken seriously or held to any kind of regard, then whatever mask you wear aren't doing shit.
oh no, I likened it like uh, back in World War I, where like when they didn't have enough gas masks, for the mustard gas and all um uh, the chemical warfare that was going on. I mean, it was akin to like wearing a pea-soaked rag. It didn't do shit. Yeah, but
That's right. That's right. They did that. That was in the Army handbook, wasn't it? That
yep,
like if the mask had somehow your gas mask had somehow failed or was not like fitting snugly, that pee into like a rag and cover your face.
yeah, it didn't do shit. It killed it. People died,
Right.
and that's exactly what I was. But nobody,
Right.
like I said, but I'm an idiot, right? I don't know anything. And people laughed at me, thinking I was like, "Oh, Robert, you're such a conspiracy theorist." Like, no, it's called reality. It's called like thinking for yourself.
Right. And it's like why is a conspiracy theory bad? The American Revolution was a conspiracy. It was a conspiracy against the British government, the British Crown. That was a conspiracy. The founding fathers conspired against the crown.
Yeah, well, I mean, then you also have like the WHO, the World Health Organization. I mean, there's clearly something going on there where they are hand in hand with you know the Chinese government, where
Hmm.
you had that one reporter that was asking about something concerning like Taiwan, and the guy hung up on her, the leader of of WHO
Right.
hung
Yeah.
up on her.
Yeah. She asked specifically about Taiwan, and the doc and like the guy, the representative, kept saying like, "Oh yeah, I already answered questions about China." It's like, no, 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 no. Or yeah, and there's like that one where it's like they were doing a Skype call, and
Yeah,
like he pretended like they're having a bad
and,
connection
and
or whatever.
oh no no no, we'll just move on. It's like, well, no no, I actually I'll say it again, and then he hung up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the point that he hung up the on the call. But yeah, just a quote from Dr. Maria Van Kerkhove. Uh,
yeah, I
sh
think that's
yeah. From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a second individual. What is it? Second individual, head of World Health Organization Emerging Disease and Zoonosis Unit. Zoonosis is just the study of the transmission from humans to animals. I looked that up.
yeah.
Uh,
Funny how this article or like what the WHO came out with this as soon as all these riots started popping up. Do you think that's a little odd?
no, this is total cover for the protests and the riots. Because again, the blatant hypocrisy is that oh, you can't, the protesters protesting against the lockdown, oh, they're gonna kill everyone's grandma if they gather in big groups. But the people vote, protesting against police brutality, or defund the police or whatever bullshit. Oh, it's like, oh, that's important. I should have grabbed it, but I ran out of time. But there was like that statement that like a health official saying like, oh, we have, as dangerous as corona. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically what they said is like, oh, even though corona is really dangerous, like I think it's like our moral obligation to protest against injustice and evil. Uh,
Oh yeah, it's the most
basically having a double standard. You know, uh,
yeah
rules for thee, but not for me.
yeah it's the most woke virus ever. It's it's not targeting any of the protesters or rioters and looters.
Right, and like just quote, we kind of skipped the top quote, but yeah, some people, particularly young and otherwise healthy individuals who are infected by the coronavirus, never develop symptoms or only develop mild symptoms. Others might not develop symptoms until days after they were actually infected. So my understanding of this information is that this virus is highly contagious, but not that deadly, and not all that deadly to young, healthy people. Like
Yeah,
particularly in the age range of the people who would be working, and the least affected. I mean, that's just what it sounds like to me.
yeah. Before a lot of the the horrible spin that was going on from what like it's yes, was it more aggressive and than the flu? Yeah, it was more aggressive than the flu. It was, and what made it such a danger is because it was causing lower respiratory infection, which is like what causes pneumonia. And pneumonia is that man that'll knock you out. People who
Right?
get
I
pneumonia,
mean, yeah, I've never had pneumonia, but I hear it's a bitch.
it's yeah. I mean, I haven't had it personally, but like from what I've heard from friends of mine who've had it or have come close to dying from it. Like I mean, you feel like you're drowning. Like you literally can't breathe. It's
Mm.
terrible.
Oh yeah, because like a lot of like fluid buildup in the lungs, kind of, right?
right, and that's why it was such a a big deal that a lot of older people, they're already like kind of frail or going through certain health issues, and then like getting knocked in with that, like that's a death sentence almost. So um, and that's because the this the coronavirus or whatever, it's this is just a new strain of it. It's not necessarily something that's new. Obviously, we talked about this several episodes ago when we looked up the definitions. They're talking about like the coronavirus. It's not something brand new. Um, and uh, but yeah, I mean, so the, the it is we still have to be we have to be careful. We have to we're learning how to wash our hands again, which apparently is something people didn't realize, or that maybe like we should be a little bit more cleaner per se. But then now we're getting all this well, you gotta trust the scientists. We gotta trust science. Science, our God. Uh, you know, our almighty
Right, but
scientists.
even though like the policies or like the edicts, let's call them what they really are, edicts. The edicts that they kept coming up with were anti-science. Like
Oh yeah,
they kept going against the recommendations of scientists.
yep. And that's the thing. It's like that's why I don't the CDC, WHO, and a lot of these stupid government organizations that have done nothing, don't know anything, don't have a plan, don't all that stuff. Don't listen to these people. They're not your friend. They don't care about you. I mean, the WHO is essentially that's it's part of
Yeah, who like
uh,
again,
climate.
no, pun not intended, but who are they? Who
Yeah,
comprises the who?
yeah,
Who
exactly.
put them in charge? Who put them in charge?
And the whole thing, like this whole lockdown crap that we went through, where we destroyed the our economy for you know who knows how long it's going to take to recover from. But that was all false models presented by some British asshole that he didn't
Yeah,
follow any of those rules.
some fucking degenerate reprobate who who himself couldn't abide the lockdown and had to go get some from his side piece.
Yeah, exactly. And yet, while uh, you know another person who was just trying to take care of his sick son, he gets reprimanded and like fined and nearly imprisoned because he's trying to like get his son medical attention, which is fucking ridiculous. But yeah, it's all these people. It's like, who are these people that are trying to control us? And
I
that's what
know.
it
It's
is.
like has any of you out there like even considered this questions like who are these people that have such power over us? You
Who
could
are these people?
with the elected people, you could at least say like, oh well, yeah, the people elected them. But these people are who are they accountable to? They're not voted in. They're just assigned.
Nope.
Uh,
They
but
are nobody
but
voted for them. Nope.
yeah, but just quickly, in an obvious attempt to cover themselves, uh, I guess the Who came out with another clarification to the initial statement. They're like, well, we don't actually have the answer yet. Um,
Oh wow.
it's like, then why the fuck do we have to listen to you? I thought I highlighted it. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I'll just highlight it real fast. Right. The transmission. Okay. The majority of transmission that we know about is that people who have symptoms transmit the virus to other people through infectious droplets. Van Kerkhove said. But there is a subset of people who don't develop symptoms, and to truly understand how many people don't have symptoms, we don't actually have the answer yet. So it's basically saying, oh, like no, 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 no. We're not saying that that this virus is bullshit. No, no, no. It's super serious. It's super serial, guys. I'm serial, guys. It's super serial.
super serial. Super serial.
Um, but it's like no, no. But we still don't have like even though it doesn't transmit like that, very often through asymptomatic people. That doesn't mean that it never does. And, we just need more time to figure everything out. Dot all our I's, cross all our T's, that kind of thing. That's
Yeah, it's like
basically the spin that we got today. This article is from today. Just kind of
honestly,
like oh.
it feels like it's either one of two things. It's either one, they know that it's all bullshit and it's just a way to create disruption and uh, fuck with people, to
Mhm,
kind of make people submit to things to see like how far they can push,
mhm,
um, especially uh, people who are in, especially in the United States, like where we have freedom that's slowly going away. Or it's two, they're complete idiots, and it's kind of like the college kid that waits till the last night to finish his 20-page research paper that they didn't fucking do anything about, and so it's like, well, what we found, I just don't know anything, we don't know.
oh wait, let me read this one part. Some of the confusion boiled down to the details of what an asymptomatic infection actually is and the different ways the term is used. While some cases of COVID-19 are fully asymptomatic, sometimes the word is also used to describe people who haven't started showing symptoms yet, when they are pre-symptomatic. Research has shown that people become infectious before they start feeling sick during that pre-symptomatic period.
So I mean, essentially, like it's kind of like the flu. It doesn't say that supposedly, like when you're about ready to get the flu, or you have the before like all the symptoms start to show, that is like
Mm-hmm.
when it's supposedly the most infectious. And
Right.
when you actually are starting like, oh, I have the fever, or I have a cough, or stuffy nose or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's like, oh, well, you're actually really not, I mean, it's gross, but you're actually really not very contagious at that point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right,
remember,
because
like we're
because
evil.
so supposedly the virus hasn't like I think when you start showing symptoms of it, that's when the virus is supposedly integrated into like your system or whatever, as opposed to like kind of prior before it's still kind of floating around and there's still some some means of transmission. Um, I don't know. It also just sounds like bullshit to me. So
Yeah, but we're evil for even like thinking it's kind of similar to the flu. Remember, this is more people dead than Vietnam, or it's like this is our World War II. Remember, we have to make sure it's is
right?
uh,
But I mean, like, I don't know why people are freaking out. According, I mean, don't according to AOC, we're all dead in like 10 years now. Has it been 2 years since she made that statement? It feels like 2 years. It might even just be even
yeah,
one year,
yeah. There's nothing
one
we can
year
do.
ago. Yeah. So what's the point? Who cares? Let's just go. Let's just go out there. Let's go out there, folks. We're all dead in maybe 11 years, maybe 10 years. So what's the point? We're all gonna die of climate change. No big deal.
Yeah,
This is just one. This is just one. This is like complaining about a broken leg while you're on fire, right?
yeah. That's a great way to put it.
It's like doctor, my leg's broken. It's like yeah, but you're also on fire. It's like I said my leg is broken.
Yeah.
Priorities.
I don't know, the fact that like people still buy like these organizations who with these quote unquote experts and unelected bureaucrats that are dictating from their ivory towers wherever they may be. But remember, like there are social betters. They know so much more than us. So how dare we question their rulings, their as you said, their edicts.
Hmm. Yeah, because that's how they're sounding. Like that ghoul who who's the Los Angeles public health director or whatever. She's like saying like, oh
Oh,
yeah, the lockdown's gonna extend another 3 months. He's like, what? And like
oh
they're
yeah.
and they're gonna listen and they're gonna listen to her because she's a supposed expert.
You know what I've noticed
You know,
though is that now like people are like because now people are just coming out anyways because uh once like the rioting hit and then you see Garcetti out there like no mask like out in like crowds of people, it's like, oh well, apparently it's all bullshit now, so you know what, fuck it, I'm going back to work.
right? I know exactly, and I mean, I've been saying this for months. Like, people have just have to start opening up.
Yep.
Fuck the government, fuck the orders. Just open up.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, they can't arrest everybody,
Nope. Well, and they're trying to defund the police anyway, so what does it matter?
right? And they're trying, yeah, and they're trying to defund the police, even though just the other month they're praising the police and praising healthcare workers for stepping in the gap, against this invisible enemy. Remember that,
Yeah.
and there's like all these videos of like cops, helping people out, and like in the applause, the kind of like the Soul Train, for hospital workers, and the applause of everybody.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's so fucking ridiculous. I was like, and then, it was so fucking ridiculous, and it's just like constant, and again the constant contradictions where it's like, you see all these videos of nurses crying about like, oh, the death, and oh, there's not enough PPE, and there's not enough masks, and oh my god, I can't work under these circumstances. But then you have like then you have all these nurses doing TikTok dances, and not just kind of two steps. We're talking about really well choreographed numbers here. And
Yeah.
some like even going as far as like including like props. There's like that one where like
Yeah.
they put like the big balloons like under their gowns to make it look like they have big asses. And just like, I thought you guys were running out of PPE. You're wasting PPE right now to do this fucking TikTok thing. So which is it? Is it like, oh, the we were totally we're still not prepared, and like people are dying, and I haven't seen my kids in like in weeks, and or is it TikTok stars?
It's all bullshit.
Pick a lane. As Owen Benjamin would say, they're doing too many spells at once. They're doing too many
Yeah.
spells at once, and they're like, and it's like it's like canceling each other out. And people are starting to see. People are starting to see.
The blind are starting to see,
Yeah,
and
exactly. The scales are beginning to fall off. People are starting to see the bullshit for what it really is. You know what? And I think and it's hilarious because what is it? The mayor of Minneapolis, like just he tried to show like how woke he was and down with it he was. So there's like video of him like dancing, like that I forget what it's called, but like you know it's like one of those kind of like line dances, but that you do at like
oh yeah,
family
yeah, I know what you
barbecues,
mean.
right?
Yeah.
But then like the very next video, he's like he's like this little boy, and like he has this big black woman like looking down on him with the microphone, saying like, oh, if you do not say the answer that we want to hear, then no one's gonna vote for you, and it is an election year. It's like, oh. And he didn't say the answer that they wanted to hear, and they fucking Game of Thrones shamed him. they like
Shame,
like
shame.
shame basically, and like he walked out of like basically chased them out of the city. And he
Yeah.
walked out of that crowd like tail between his legs, people giving him the bird. And you know what?
Well,
And you know what? And you know what? Whatever, fine. No, like if and I don't even I'm not even that mad at that crowd holding like the cudgel of their vote against this guy. I really don't mind.
no, no. Trust me. Like I'm actually like, well, every politician like needs that or that that gavel over the or that the sword of Damocles.
Right,
Up
exactly.
in the air.
I would hold my vote as a cudgel against Trump too.
Yeah.
Like and he actually did kind of straighten up too, because before he was talking about like, oh, we need a vaccine, and people started like, what the fuck are you talking about, vaccines?
Yeah.
And then he came, and then in that recent press conference, he was saying like, oh yeah, we'll have a vaccine, but only for and it's like for people who want it. If people want a vaccine, they could take it. So so he kind of corrected himself, because he started seeing that people were not people of like the anti-vax uh,
Yeah.
persuasion heard that like, what the fuck did you just say? It's like, oh, you don't want my vote? Oh, you don't want my vote then? And so he's like, oh shit, and so he corrected himself, and
Yeah.
I'm completely fine with that. And I'm
Oh,
completely
yeah.
fine with those. I'm completely fine with those people using their vote as a cudgel against this guy. It's completely fair.
Very fair. And then but the yeah, it's I have no problem with plus that mayor was awful. Kind of created that scenario in the city where it's like, okay, well, he pretty much fucked himself. So
Right? Yeah.
I'm fine
I
with
even
him
think I
doing
think
it.
I think he's our age too.
Yeah, I know he's pretty young.
Yeah, but it's so
I
funny
saw
because
his pictures. Like,
I saw him. I was like, who the hell is this kid? And like he might be
oh,
like he might be a couple years older than me. But I looked at him. I was like, who the hell is this kid?
oh, that's the mayor. Jesus.
I know, Jesus Christ. I like,
And it's
and
not. And
it's like
I
it's
mean,
so funny.
like
It's so funny because people I've heard like some people who are a little bit not not wholly left, but like kind of left leaning. They were like saying like, oh man, there's like so many handsome like politicians now. And they're like talking about this guy, and it's like, like you know, uh, Justin Trudeau South, like Justin Trudeau,
yeah,
2.0.
yeah. Well, it's funny because like that city is that's not like a it's not bumfuck you know you know bumfuckville
Right, it's a major
Minnesota.
metropolitan city.
Yeah, I was like, damn, like they voted for this guy. Like, it's okay.
No, seriously, I don't know. I don't know. After this, maybe I'll do a deep dive and try to see if I can find any of his campaign video, because I would love to see what he promised.
Oh,
The people of Minneapolis.
yeah,
I would love to see the platform that he ran on. I really wonder what it was. It's like, the
yeah.
platform was skinny jeans and I don't know, social justice maybe. I don't know.
Lollipops and fancy pants.
Yeah, lollipops and fancy pants. Exactly. Oh god. And I think like he was a Hillary supporter, and he had like those Hillary socks.
Oh my god.
I know, like, and he's married. And it's like I bet I. Here's the thing. I bet that she goes
Oh,
Amazon position on him.
oh, easily. He gets paid.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he gets pegged. I'm saying that the majority of time that that him and his wife are fucking, it's the Amazon position. For those
Oh,
of you who
def
don't know
definitely.
what that is, those of you who don't know what that is, like that's a reversal of the missionary.
Yep. Death by snoo snoo.
Yeah, death by snoo snoo. Yes. I mean, it's not as technically Simpsons, but it is Matt Groening. So.
Yeah,
I
my, I'm quoting my second favorite show, Futurama.
know it's a good show. People sleep on it, but
I
you
love
shouldn't.
Futurama.
It's a good show. It's a fucking good
Futurama is
show.
fucking.
It's a great
No,
show.
I was yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but yeah, coronavirus is bullshit. So yeah, get out there, people. All right,
get out there.
don't wait for no government to come tell you it's okay for you to open your business. Just open your damn business. All right, because the government has no place in telling you how to run your business. They're not there. They're not there day to day. Working the register or interacting with people or whatever your business is. They have no part. They have no part in it. So they have no part in saying when you can open it. Just reopen. All right, and I'm confident that the people in the community will support you. They
Yes,
they will they will stand for you. Okay, right? And if that's not reassuring, then just open up because you know what? More and more if people start seeing other people doing it, they're just gonna do it themselves. And you know what? The government cannot rest all of you. And even if they do, ask for a trial. Every one of you should ask for a trial. Overwhelm the system because you know how much it would cost to go to trial for everybody. It wouldn't make sense. They couldn't do it. They'd be understaffed, undermanned.
yeah,
It would take the rest of their life to get through everybody.
yeah,
But they don't even have enough money to probably get through 50 of them. Overwhelm the system. Overwhelm the system.
yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I have achieved catharsis,
Yep.
and so
I
now we can.
cleared off that shit frosting. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yes, exactly. Let's get to the cake. All right. Because because this frosting wasn't particularly good. It had coconut in it. Um,
Oh,
not to shit
oh,
on not to shit on coconut too much. As I've grown up, as I've gotten older, I do like it in certain contexts, but overall, I'm not that much of a coconut fan.
garbage.
Right. But yeah, let's get on to our reviews. We because we had such a good time with the Tiger King uh, docu series and reviewing that, we decided that we're going to continue on with with the reviews of documentary type miniseries, and we decided that we're going to watch and review The Last Dance. For those of you unaware, The Last Dance is a docu series that chronicles the career of one Michael Air Jordan.
Yeah, it specifically it's kind of documenting like well it's not I mean obviously it is focused on Michael, but it is kind of talking about the whole Bulls team and specifically their last championship, which was deemed by Coach Phil Jackson to be the last dance, and the story kind of behind everything inspired. Man, oh, it's so good. I this is um well this era of basketball, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s is my favorite era of basketball. Um, I mean, obviously, I've always been a Lakers fan, so the Bulls is like fuck, it's like, um, but just the personalities, the there's so many. Uh, there was a lot more parity in the league, I think, at that time because you didn't have these people ganging up on making super teams and all that stuff. I mean, there were teams that were really good, but it wasn't like everyone ganged up on like, well, we're just gonna go to the Miami Heat or Golden State or wherever, and we're gonna make this. We're all gonna come together as free agents make this super team. No, it wasn't like that at all. And yeah, I I'm loving this docu. I was gonna try to contain myself to watch one episode a week, but it was just too damn good. I watched the entire thing.
You
But we'll
mother.
talk. I know.
You see what I'm dealing with here, folks? You see what I'm dealing with here? Robert has very poor uh, self-control. He has very little compulsion uh, control. Very
Sorry.
little very little restraint. And me, like, even though I watched the first episode, I was like, damn, I want to watch the next one, but I don't want to, like, I don't want to overload myself uh, for
Oh,
these
trust me.
reviews.
I'm gonna be.
Although me, I was gonna ask you this afterwards, but maybe, I'll just ask you right now. Since this series is a little bit longer, you want to double up?
No, we don't have to. If you, it's up to you. Like if you want to, like, if there's some weeks where you feel like we should double up, we can. But we can uh no, we can go week by week. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Well, okay. I guess if since you've already went through the series, I guess you could be the judge of whether or not perhaps like two episodes are better reviewed together, or and you could
Um,
kind of make the call.
no, I think honestly, I think if we do it episode by episode, it's fine because there is a lot in each episode, and sometimes it chronicles like because episode one kind of focuses on
Right. Episode one was a really long one. It kind it started off with uh kind of the what is it the
they
Bulls,
kind
and
of
like the strife between them and was it Jerry Krause. But then it
yeah.
jumped back to MJ's days when he was playing for North Carolina, and then his eventual draft pick, and then it kind of meets back up to where it leaves off. But yeah,
They what they do with this series is they kind of memento this stuff, like where it's like they kind of start
okay,
at like the end and talk about the beginning, and they kind of merge to the end, merge stories. That's how kind of the whole docu series is kind of like. It's very fascinating.
okay.
Um, but no,
But yeah,
episode one,
like I just said, this first episode, it starts off with Michael Jordan, kind of like the last year that he was supposed to play with them, which is in like the 97-98 season, I believe it was.
yeah, yep,
Right, and then it touches on the kind of contentious relationship between the GM at the time, Jerry Krause, and Michael Jordan, and Phil Jackson, and kind of um, the triumvirate of that team, which is Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, and Scottie Pippen.
yeah, man. What a what a trio of characters.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, you had Michael, the alpha of alphas at the time, and then you had Scottie Pippen, who's like the most solid, like second, the second man on the
Yeah.
team, and then you had kind of like the eccentric but always dependable Dennis Rodman.
Well, I think so. Something that I learned from this because like this episode particularly focuses on Michael's beginning, and something that I did not know was that early in his career when he broke his foot, and because he's like he's that he's so driven to win, to be the best. Like, no, we're not gonna fucking lose games. We're gonna like we have to go out and win. We owe it. We not only to ourselves but to the fans. Like it's like I want to win games. I'm not here to fucking lose the game. It's
Right,
stupid.
and yeah, well, like that. It wasn't his first game with the Bulls, but it was one of the
No, it
early
was like
games, like right
it was
after he was drafted.
it was his
But
sophomore
yeah,
season. It was his second season where he broke his foot, and he's
I, I,
rehab.
was that covered? Was that covered in the first episode?
Yeah, this is covered in the first episode because this is where like when he broke his foot, and they're trying to hold him back, and uh, they're not allowing him to. They're more focused on trying to keep him healthy and not re-injure his foot. And so he sees it as like, oh, okay, I'm just an asset to them. Like, they don't care about winning. And so right from the very beginning, he's like, okay, these guys do not have my back, and like that's kind of like where he kind of a lot of the tension with Jordan leadership and like GM kind of started. Although it was a different GM at that time, but it's just like he realized that the only ones that he could rely on were like his teammates, and the coach, like the people that are actually in the trenches, playing the game. And because later on it's revealed that all his contracts were like 1 year deals. I didn't realize that. I thought he had signed like multi,
Oh, well, I think
like
you
long.
know, I think you're jumping around a little bit, jumping ahead a
But
little
no,
bit.
I'm saying it's like, but because but like when it all comes together, it makes sense. Like, okay, so now I see like why MJ was the way he was. So it's very fascinating stuff.
Well, let's just try and keep it within episode by episode. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, this was really fascinating. Look into this amazing team, because I mean I think even though we were young and at the time, and I don't know, I wasn't really that big into sports or basketball when I during the time of Michael Jordan, but I was still a Michael Jordan fan. I still would catch like the Bulls games,
yeah,
um, even though even though I'm an LA boy. Uh, but just because I wanted to see him play, and he was the best. He was the best. Even though I wasn't that big into sports at that time, I recognized that he was the best, and I wanted to see the best play.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
yeah, and so in that way, and then also like having this like having being able to see like the other side of what I saw on TV, or what was going on at the time, but just having that different perspective, that closer perspective was absolutely a dream.
Well, he was so you know every sport kind of has their transcendent figure, right? Like where you know you don't even have to like watch that sport, but the player, the person. Basketball, like back in the '90s, that was Michael Jordan. Uh, like hockey had Wayne Gretzky. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Baseball had it has several stars. Derek Jeter is like one of those guys. NASCAR had Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon. Those were the guys. These guys transcend the sport. You don't have to watch that sport, but you know those.
Yeah, the name recognition is there.
Yeah, and Michael was the probably the greatest player I've ever seen.
Agreed. Just
What that
hearing
guy,
about his college days was amazing too. Just like kind of like
yeah,
the mentality and the attitude where his coaches were saying like, oh, if you really want to make it, you have to be the best player, best player on the team. Like, we're talking about, I'll be the best player that this school's ever had. He just kind of took it to that next level.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and
and
he,
yeah, and really, and I think, and really impressed on his coaches that this kid was special. That Michael Jordan is and was going to be special.
yeah, and like I said, it's rare to have someone like that. Like, he did not rest on his morals, rest because he had the talent. He was really good, even then.
Mhm.
But it's like you can't rest on that. You have to be uh, you have to have the drive. You have to have the focus. You have to have the discipline to be good at your craft and to always be improving. Because if you sit and you just uh, you know people are going to pass you by, and then all of a sudden you're no longer the best.
Mhm.
Um,
Right. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, and it's so rare to have those types of people. I don't know. I think it was kind of a fluke that after I think it was kind of a fluke that after MJ it was Kobe, and then after Kobe it was LeBron. And kind of I don't know. I think that I don't know if they're the same age, but at least in the same kind of cohort. Then you had like Steph Curry,
yeah,
and so I don't know. Like I don't know if it's just basketball, but to have like you know that kind of talent. Because before there was Michael Jordan, there really wasn't a big recognizable name in basketball, or at least there was it was few
I mean
and far between.
it was Bird and Magic were kind of like the big guys back then. With the Celtics, like Showtime Lakers.
Mhm.
Before that, but it's not. MJ took the NBA to a whole nother level. Like he
Right.
advanced them so
Yeah, he almost gave like a respectability to the sport. Where
right.
in America, like baseball or football would be kind of like the traditional American sports. But and yes, you had basketball, and it was pretty fun to watch. But yeah, Michael Jordan, he brought it up to that tier where it's like now, like uh, you know cities in the United States, they're wanting a basketball team. They wanted a basketball franchise.
Yeah, because there was definitely after MJ, like when more eyes went onto the NBA, like, oh wow, maybe like, yeah, let's get ourselves a basketball team. And there was more teams that got added to the league
Hmm.
after we got, in like the late teams coming in like the late '80s, '90s, and um, it's like every sport does kind of have that. Like there is kind of that passing of the torch, if you will, from one generation to the next.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's pretty clean cut. Sometimes it's not. But that basketball lineage of like who's the best. Well, MJ like is kind of like he ripped the he ripped the baton from the old guard and kind of um, held on to it for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's so crazy. Like, it's. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna get into this, but and I think like the whole the whole like athletes or like, celebrities becoming political seems like such a contemporary thing. But it's happening back then, and I don't know. I did catch some of it while it was on TV, but
Yeah, there
there's like
is a
there's that famous thing with Michael Jordan and like them wanting him to like endorse or something like the first like black candidate for president, um, who
it was
like
for it was like a governor or mayor in like North Carolina that they were wanting him to endorse.
right, and he was a Democrat, but and then he didn't do that. Um, and he didn't endorse him, and he was like he was catching some flack for it. But he kind of had like the very classy answer of it's like, hey, Republicans buy shoes too.
Yeah, they do. Uh, Michael does address that statement. They do talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was actually like I think it was handled in a very good way. It wasn't like, oh, thank a guy, not MJ2. It wasn't like one of those. So I'm looking forward to when we do talk about that episode.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause I mean, even yeah. 'Cause I think that story is just so powerful because he wasn't necessarily saying that he was a Republican or that he uh,
Yeah,
or that he necessarily like didn't like this particular candidate or whatever. But he just he answered it perfectly. I think just kind of taking the politics out of it, just but still addressing it and making it a purely business motivation, where it's like, hey, Republicans wear sneakers too.
and that's actually one thing I do. Uh, See, this is the thing I do like about the old guard in sports, which is why I'm having a harder time uh, enjoying sports today. But
Mm-hmm.
like back then, yeah, because I don't look to my sports stars or for political anything. Like I honestly I don't give two fucks about like what they who they vote for, where they spend their money, um, what their feelings are on stuff. All I care about, you know, is what they do on the field, what they do on the racetrack, what they do on the court. That's all I care about. I want to get away from all that stuff. That's why I watch sports. And that's one thing I think that this new era of sports and athletes, you know, can't they can't stay out of their own fucking way, and they have to. Well, I have to use my platform for good. It's like you are using your platform for good. You're giving entertainment to millions of people who
Right, you're
want
taking
it.
you're giving me 3 hours to forget my troubles and to see something that like not many people on the planet can do.
Yeah,
That is literally your work. That is literally your work. And then
and, and that's it.
I know Laura Ingham got a lot of flack um, for when she told LeBron to shut up and dribble. But hell, she said it the same thing to the Dixie Chicks. That shut up
Yeah,
and sing. Which is kind of a contradiction, but it's like just shut up and sing.
and
That's all, and yeah,
and
that's all we want. That's all we want. We don't you don't
and,
I
and
don't care
I'm not.
who
Uh,
you vote for, where your money goes, and I don't need you to tell me who to vote for. Just shut up
yeah,
and
and
dribble.
that's the other thing. Yeah, I'm not saying like don't put your money like towards the causes that are, the political candidates that you want, to the causes that you want. That's fine.
Right? Yeah.
That's using your platform. You want to create because a lot of these guys create charities and organizations that help out what they care about, and that's great. I'm all for that. But when it comes to the actual like sport that I don't when you're on the when you strap on that uniform, there there shouldn't be anything else that you talk about other than the sport.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you put on that uniform, like the personal stuff stays in the locker room.
Yeah,
Just like leave it in there. Don't after you change out of your uniform, you can say whatever the fuck you want. And I think
and I'm just saying,
that's one of the criticisms that I think that a lot of like the left leaning pundits are leaving out of like the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. You're saying that, oh, we're saying that he can't exercise his First Amendment rights and blah blah blah. It's like, no, 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 no. All right, we're saying is he can do that on his own goddamn time, not not when he's being paid to play a game.
yeah,
Not when
but
he's paid. Not when he's being paid millions of dollars to catch and throw a ball. Right? It's not when he's wearing a uniform, which is saying that he's representing this organization, the 49ers or what have you. He's representing that. And
yeah,
whatever his personal feelings are, whatever his political views are secondary to representing the that organization, that team.
Yeah, and I mean it goes to even like people who I might add even athletes that agree with me politically or things that I care about. It's like honestly, I don't care though. I
Right.
don't want them talking about it.
Right. I mean, like the whole Drew Brees thing. Drew Brees thing. Like I tend to agree with what he said, but it's like I don't care.
Yeah,
Like,
and
and I think he said it like on his own time, which is fine, and he can say that, but I don't think he should be then you know uh, made to prostrate on the altar of social justice and flagellate himself.
yeah,
He said something on his own on his own goddamn time while not in uniform. So
yeah.
that's his
He
personal
wasn't in
opinion.
a think
So that's completely fine.
I mean,
And
yeah, he's a quote
and
unquote
that's completely
representative of
different from
things,
what
but
Colin Kaepernick is doing.
yeah, very different. And it's nuts. But that's what I said. Like that's why I tend to go back, reflect on you know our era that we grew up in, like the sports stars that we grew up watching. Um, just kind of looking up to, and I think it was a better crop of athletes.
Right, and it was just a better time to come up too. Because I remember
Yeah,
as I was watching like the old archival footage. It kind of made me nostalgic. And I don't understand nostalgic means fondness for what never was, but
but yeah, watching
but
all that old of MJ and the Bulls, and even like the teams that they were facing. It's like, oh man, I forgot about that guy. And it's like, oh man, it made me want to go back and like watch some like old like basketball highlights. And I obviously like I go back and I watch old NASCAR races. Um,
mhm.
and it's like, oh man, I forgot. I forgot about like this driver. And, some of the stuff back then. Yeah, yeah, it made me fondly remember the old days.
Right. Yeah. I think. Well, that's all I have to really say about this first episode.
Yeah,
Do you have anything else to add?
like I said, no, like I said, it's uh, the episode is simple in itself. It's mainly kind of just talking about like the kind of introducing the whole docu series, uh, chronicling like kind of the very start of MJ's career, and kind of the his where his fracture with the ownership and front office started.
Mhm.
Uh, literally kind of started with his own fracture in his foot. Ironically, and it kind of gives a kind of it gets us started in looking to one of the greatest teams in basketball history.
Word. Okay. Well, that's our review for the first episode of The Last Dance. And continuing with the previous docu series review, we're gonna hold off with the rating until the very end. Uh, but just going off this first episode, I think the rating at the end would be very high for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the last bit of business for tonight, and that is the movie review. And as for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, or those of you who might need a refresher, this month's theme is directorial debuts. I know I realized last week's episode was very highly garbled. And I do apologize for that. I did still leave it up, but I didn't chop up the episode for consumable bytes because while the audio was still there, the video was really chopped up, and um, I just didn't see the for some reason like the OBS it recorded all the choppiness of it, so it's just like constantly like frozen screen, but you could still hear us speaking. So I
Uh,
just didn't I didn't feel the necessity to chop that up. So I just left the stream as is. Like we still appear, but would just be like frozen blocks, and like occasionally the scene will change. But last week the the stream was just so badly garbled. Like the for some reason the live stream feed was like really poor quality, uh,
yeah,
and so really apologize for that. But tonight, with we're moving along very swimmingly. The
yeah,
playback that I see on the screen is going perfectly. It's a few seconds delayed, but everything is moving along. I'm moving. Robert's moving. The video is working properly. So yeah, we just we also try to implement a few new things, and I updated the OBS, and I don't know for some reason like it made things all wonky, but I think we got everything back to copacetic. So,
good.
so again, apologies, but yes, reminder that this is directorial debuts month. Month or last week we reviewed Citizen Kane, a really good movie, and it's in as much of a cliche as it is to say like you have to watch this movie, you should really watch Citizen Kane. It's a great movie,
Yeah, because
and
honestly,
and I think it's
I've
definitely
read that.
part of it's very I think it's part of like the American canon. I think
Yeah, yeah,
and I think and and I think it's culturally significant uh, to merit a must-watch recommendation.
yeah. I would agree. It's a lot of people regard it as the it's number one on a lot of like greatest movies lists. Um, I don't think it's number one in my. It wouldn't be number one in my book, but the more I watch it, the more I realize like, wow, this is a really good movie, and you just like because Orson Welles was a young man when he did that. He was 27 when he did this. It was his first ever film, and he it. Uh, I watched an interview with him from 1960, and he says, "Yeah, I didn't know how to do anything, so no one said that I couldn't do the things that I was doing, so I just did it." And which is probably the best thing that could have ever happened, that he didn't go to some film school, and so he's like he did what he wanted to do, and that
Right,
changed film forever.
right.
And a lot of people started to,
He wasn't weighed down with orthodoxy,
yeah, and
as it were.
and
And so in
what
that way,
he did,
he was very blessed. He was lucky, and he was blessed that he was able to make that film, without, kind of like, without so many cooks in the kitchen, as it were, or with
yeah, without
or too much studio interference.
yeah, kind of without restriction almost, and
Yeah, I mean, he basically well not he almost had a blank check
yeah,
to make this movie.
and yeah, and so everyone else is like tried to emulate what he did, and that changed film forever.
Absolutely. But yes, in continuing in the theme of directorial debuts, this week we'll be reviewing Duel, which is the directorial debut of one Steven Spielberg.
Fucking love this movie, it's so good.
All right, let me just give the people a quick synopsis, and then we can get right into the review. David Mann, a mild-mannered electronics salesman, is driving cross country on a two-lane highway when he encounters an old oil tanker driven by an unseen driver who seems to enjoy annoying him with dangerous antics on the road. Unable to unable to escape the demonic big rig, David finds himself in a dangerous game of cat and mouse with the monstrous truck. When the pursuit escalates when the pursuit escalates to deadly level, David must summon his inner warrior and turn the tables on his tormentor.
Yeah, and this
This is a
movie
really
is.
good movie. Yeah, let me just like come out and say like right after the game. This is a really good movie.
I love. Here's the thing I love about it. Well, first of all, like without if you've never read the description, there's you would have never. You knew that he was going to like try going on some business trip to like try to like save an account, but you so you know he's a salesman. You don't know what the
Mhm.
fuck he's selling. You kind
Right.
of loosely know that he's married because he phones his wife after like, kind of trying to apologize based off of an argument that he had the night before, and you can kind of see like he's kind of he's mild mannered and it's like he was trying to based off everything he's kind of probably had a rough few days like he's kind of worried about like his something that's going on at work. He's had a little bit of trouble at home, so you kind of like he's an everyday guy. You kind of you can um you feel for him almost. It's like yeah I go through stuff like that all the time. You're worried about work, you're worried about home. You got a lot of stuff on your mind, and especially it being in California, like we are, like, you're probably commuting somewhere, and so all that stuff is playing in your head. Um, and all of a sudden, he comes across this fucking lunatic driver that kind of just fucks everything up for him. Um, but I love the simplicity of this film. There's not, um, and that doesn't make it boring in a sense. 'Cause, there's not a ton of dialogue. There's really not a ton of music per se, but it and the times that there's dialogue and music, it's very specifically it's put in a very specific way, and to kind of ratchet up the tension and uh, yeah, just a very fascinating way that this movie is
Right. It's a really interesting tale because the opening shot of him leaving the city and listening to this talk radio program. It's interesting that it details or like one of the callers is calling in and talking about how like I think it was a woman and like the husband isn't much of a man or like he doesn't stand up for himself, which I think that which goes into the character of David Mann. And interestingly, like his last name is Mann, two N's,
yeah
and he's and I think it's a really interesting commentary about the kind of the at the time the modern man where he's become domesticated and he doesn't he no longer and like the truck driver and the truck represents like the what kind of represents like the old idea the old ideal or kind of expectations of what a man is, the long haul trucker able to handle the big diesel engine and things like that. But then you have like David Mann representing the modern man, where he has a desk, he has a 9 to 5. He has a tie and a briefcase, and he drives like this little prissy or dainty car that only goes up to 80 miles an hour. Um,
yeah
and so, but in but as the movie goes on, and as David Mann is constantly being antagonized or even tortured in a way by this psychopathic truck driver. He kind of finds his balls in a way, because
Yeah,
he starts kind of taking the fight to the truck driver, or he decides that he's not gonna just let this truck driver try to kill him, or kill him. So he starts devising plans, and starts to implement strategy. And
yeah,
he kind of finally stands up against his like as the synopsis said, he finally stands up to his tormentor.
that's a very fascinating way to look at the movie too. Because I had, until you mentioned that, like I hadn't thought of this, but now I was like, okay, it makes sense. Because I see this is a horror film, and
Right, right.
which I'm not
And
a big fan of, but
it all, yeah, it could, and it is a horror film, because
but
you never actually see the face of the truck of the truck driver. We might have, there's like this one scene where they both kind of meet up after, like, kind of like like what this moment where the truck driver nearly causes David the David character to spin out and crash his car. They
yeah,
both meet up at this roadside diner, and you see possible candidates for the trucker, but you're not quite sure, because we don't because there was an earlier scene where they both meet up at a gas station, and you don't really get to see him. You just get to see, like, his jeans and his boots, and so that's all that David Mann has to go on to figure out who this truck driver is. But we never really find out who it is, even though we might have, like, looked that guy straight in the face in that scene at the secondary roadside restaurant.
right. Well, I'm saying, like, besides it being like a horror film, it is like what you're saying is it's kind of a hero's journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time that David is trying to, like, give the guy space, or to kind of essentially run away,
Right. He's like,
he's
every time he
antagonized.
tries to be passive, or kind of concede the road to the truck driver, it's met with some uh, hostile challenge.
Yeah, and it's not until the finally, like, he's like, I guess I gotta face this guy, and he does, and he creates a strategy, and he wins, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, that's uh yeah, I never actually, I until you mentioned that, Andy, like, I hadn't really thought of that. This is him, this kind of modern, uh he's not, I wouldn't call him a sissy, but he's
No.
kind of this modern, kind of effeminate type of uh effeminized man, that has to become a warrior in a sense, and to reclaim it. And yeah, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think the horror elements are in the film. Because I'm not a huge horror guy, but this movie is definitely, like, of horror films, this is one of my favorites. And
Right. No, there are
just,
definitely, like, horror elements. Like, kind of like this,
well,
the suspense of, like, not knowing, who's actually, this truck driver guy, and the kind of like the standoffs that he has with him. Yeah, they're all borrowed, like, horror film elements.
what I like about this, because this is a Spielberg film, you see elements that he used from this film that he put that he uses in his movie Jaws, which is another horror film that he did.
Right.
Um, and I think it's great that we don't know who the truck driver is. So it's essentially like, it's the truck itself that is the monster. And they chose that truck specifically because it looks like it has a mouth and a face, and it's kind of like this. It was a very specific look that Spielberg was going for. And although back then trucks would have a variety of license plates, on their truck, as they're going cross country, but in this film, it kind of feels like this truck. These are all these are the victims that this truck is claiming, that David Mann
Right.
out for.
Those are his trophies. Those are his trophies.
Yeah, exactly, and it kind of has that element to it as well. And uh, yeah, and we never see the truck driver. We never know he why why he's attacking this guy or like what. And that's kind of like the mystery behind it, and it creates this tension. And you're like, you want to resolve that tension, but it's never, even at the end, like you're like, it's like you're breathing a sigh of relief along with David, but it's like you're still like, why? Why did this happen? And and I love that about this film. It's such a, I think it was a very clever way of, doing something like, because if you kind of think about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's this truck and this car, and like, this, it's kind of like this road rage incident. It's like, that's a shitty movie, but no, it's done so well. Um, and you were talking about that scene at that diner after he wrecks his car the first time.
Hmm.
I actually don't think that truck driver was in that diner, because he's thinking like, oh, it's one of these guys, and he's trying to create like, how can I like, how can I rectify this? And
Oh right, yeah, yeah. That was another because again, a tactic of like the modern man, where you just like kind of try to make some sort of appeasement or offering to like, hey, let's bury the hatchet. Um,
yeah, but
you know,
um,
but it doesn't end up working out that way.
but I think, as I said, I don't think that truck driver was actually in the diner. I think he was waiting. He was always in the truck waiting for him, because as soon as he leaves, that truck driver is right on his ass. So it's like, it wasn't like, um, I think he was
Huh.
waiting for him. That's just like how I saw it. Like, it's like, and so it's kind of this red herring that we have all these guys with these very similar cowboy boots to the trucker that we kind of get a small glimpse of, and
Mhm.
kind of like the uh, and so he's already kind of like, his tension is out there. Like, he got that kind of injured from the wreck, and he like kind of scared, and like trying to make amends. And it's like, oh, that's not gonna work. And then he sees someone that like he thought might have been
Mhm.
the truck driver, and he starts to confront him. It's like, you know what the fuck I'm talking about? Slams his sandwich out of his hand.
Right, yeah, just
And
kind of like accusing him out of nowhere without any hard proof, and the guy's just like, yeah,
yeah,
he's just trying to eat a sandwich, and here's this guy, all crazy, and
and yeah, it was and every time he tried to get like someone else involved to try to like help him out, like it never worked. And it was like, and yeah, but it all, and because everyone thought he was crazy, and and that's typical horror movies, like no one believes the protagonist.
right, yeah, 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 exactly. Like, come on,
But
it's
at the
like,
same time,
please help me. There's a psychopath out to kill me. It's like, let's get away from this guy, Jerry.
yeah, and but I think it also goes to that hero's journey too, where it's like, you can't rely on other people to bail you out. You have to do it yourself. You have to find a way
Mm.
to summon
Mm.
that courage and strength to overcome the obstacle. And that's what happens in this film. It's I think my if I had to choose like a scene, well, there's a couple scenes obviously that I think are really great. Is well, one is the very last scene, and because once the film is actually pretty low budget, um, so and they only, at the time that they initially filmed this, they only had one truck. So that last scene where they had that last scene in the movie, they had to get that right, because that's the only truck that they had.
Right, yeah,
But
it's like one
if
of those situations where you have to get it in that one take.
yeah, so if you notice, if you're paying attention, as the truck is going over the edge, you see the door fly open, and the guy jumps out.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, so that guy could have died
Which,
at the
yeah, which is funny because I thought that was gonna be like an element of the movie where like the guy, the truck driver, is able to escape, and then they, they find, and they have like a hand to hand kind of confrontation.
No,
But
no,
but then
and
yeah, but for the story, it wouldn't make sense because like the whole thing is like they're using their cars as like weapons.
right, and I
So
think that because the
or
reason
they
that
like they be like they. I mean, other than I mean, I think the character of David does embody his car. And at a
yeah,
certain point, like the two become kind of like synonymous with each other, like and just as the same
yeah,
as the truck driver is synonymous with the truck. So like
yeah.
their identities start commingling together, and so
So
like if
I
yeah, so if the truck driver jumped out of his truck to just go and have like a fist fight with David, it wouldn't make sense.
no, no, and that it was filmed like the angle that it was filmed from, like we technically weren't supposed to see that door fly open.
Right.
It was
Yeah, but
yeah,
again,
and
limitations of the budget and whatnot.
right, but so I love that scene just because knowing that story behind it is like, oh man, that's that must have been a really tense day filming that scene because
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't get it right. Someone could have died, or B, that's the film, like because they didn't have money for another truck.
Mhm.
Um, the other scene that I liked was the where he stops off at that second gas station with the lady with the rattlesnakes and stuff and all the exotic animals.
Yeah.
It felt like it felt like he was at a scene of another horror film, and they kind of combined,
Right. Yeah. It's like
combined.
there's like two like it's like one location and two film crews. Like, hey, I was gonna use this scene. Like, no, like I'm gonna use this scene. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Let's just save some money and let's just shoot the two movies at the same time.
It was like she was like that lady was getting ready to like skin and torture somebody with her rattlesnakes,
Right,
and like
like she, yeah, that kind of like I started kind of filling in that backstory where it's like, oh, this lady, like, she's not really like the gas station attendant, and she's like, because she's like really into her snakes, and so it's like, oh, she uses the snakes to torture people, and then before she like really kills them, and
yeah,
then she like chops up the victims and feeds it to her like the spiders or whatever.
yeah. But these two that are fighting in this horror movie like kind of fuck her game up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I think
Oh
those are
god.
my two favorite. Those are my two favorite scenes for the film. And I think the other thing that's great about this is because there's not a lot given to you, but you're
Mhm.
given enough to care about the characters and like what's going on in the film. So you kind of like create these theories or scenarios that like might be going on in the film, and I always kind of like that because no one's really right, no one's really wrong, but it gets you. It kind of it's that mental exercise that I think we like to do.
Right. Mhm. Well, the only reason why I gravitated to like the notion or the theme of like reclaim masculinity was one because of like the talk radio program he was listening to on the way, and also just like the exchange that he had with his wife, where it's like it seemed very like he's where he sounded very like almost henpecked, and she was like
Yeah,
seemed like she was very upset with him because he didn't man up because like I guess maybe at like at some sort of gathering with friends, like one of the friends got had a little bit too much to drink and like got a little bit handsy with her. Because she
yeah,
puts out the statements like, oh well, that guy practically raped me and you didn't do anything.
yeah. That's a good point too, where it's like, dude, like you gotta like you can't let like people like rub up on your wife like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a nice guy, but if you rub up on my girl, your ass is on the floor.
Yeah, but the
And
yeah, no, but yeah, you're right. This whole movie it's about him reclaiming his masculinity as well, and yeah, yeah. I never this because this is probably like my fourth or fifth time watching this movie, and this is
mhm.
the first time I've kind of like noticed that now that you mentioned it. It's like, oh yeah, it does. There's a lot of that in there.
Hmm.
What are some like what are some of your favorite like scenes in
Well, like you said, like definitely that second diner where he makes the confrontation with the one of the truck drivers. That was
the film?
obviously one of my favorite. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, um, oh, and that second time where, well, just before they go into the second rest stop, where he almost kills him by pushing him off the road, and just kind of seeing him go through like the kind of rationalizations. He didn't really mean to, he didn't really mean to knock me off the road. He didn't try to kill me. He must have, been just trying to, he was just trying to scare me. Is all. Just kind of like going through those rationalizations. And I think it kind of goes to that uh, idea of like lost masculinity, where it's like, it's like he can't see what things are for what they are. It's just like, the quote modern man is come to not trust his own instincts. Where it's like, if someone takes a swipe at you, they're feeling a kind of way, and they're definitely saying something very explicit. It's not, and it's like the idea, and the kind of like the him going through his mind and trying to come up with every other, like kind of giving the benefit of the doubt to the truck driver. It's like nah, dude, he's trying to kill you, and you should
yeah.
and you
And I
should
think
and you
he
shouldn't take that shit.
well, it was that when that time where like they're he's behind the truck, but the driver waves him on, and
Hmm.
then he starts to go around. It's like he oncoming traffic is coming. He's like, oh shit, like this guy is trying to kill me.
Right.
That's and that's where like yeah, and that's where like I think he starts to like realize like okay, something has to be done here. And he started
Hmm.
that was the change in him where it's like his life was on the line.
Right, but yeah, like but him getting you know pushed off the road essentially should have been the first notification, which should have been the first warning sign. You could be like, oh, okay, this guy's fucking crazy. But yeah, but then it just goes back to like that whole like reclaiming of masculine, one's own masculinity, and trusting one's own instincts. Because that's what ultimately saves his life is or saves him is him relying on his own instincts. And
Yeah,
that's why he was able to come up with that plan, and that's how he started trusting his instincts and trusting in his own capabilities.
but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, there's not too much else to say about the film,
Hmm.
um, but I really like it. This is you really see like where obviously we're coming off of Orson Welles, now we're doing Steven Spielberg, and these are directors who are very famous. They've done a lot of good stuff, and you
Hmm.
even like their very first attempt at this stuff, it's like wow. I mean, you can already tell like very talented, uh, very smart director.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Any last thoughts, Andy?
Um, no, I got nothing else to add. So let's give our ratings and let's wrap this bitch up.
Well, we found more depth. Well, I found more depth in talking about this movie with you tonight. So I'm actually going to give it even a bigger rating than I was planning on. Um, honestly, this is the I'm gonna go 4.5 on this one, just
Four and a
because
half.
yeah,
Okay.
that's, yeah, uh, it's a very good horror film, but it has that depth of kind of the hero's journey of our main character,
Hmm.
and uh, yeah, just and I love the simplicity of it. Like the sound effects were very specific in where they were used, and what was used, the musical cues, the dialogue, all very minimalistic but very targeted. And the cinematography was really good too, actually. And for like this, low budget kind of, seemingly, because initially this was a television film. It was, but later in that year, it was popular enough where they put it in theaters, and
Ah, I see.
yeah, uh, and it's just, goddamn, it's good, man. It's such a good, like, for like the crap budget that it had. I think it was done really.
Robert, did we lose you?
No, no, I'm still here.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna give it slightly less than you. I'm just gonna give it one less than you, and I'm gonna give it 3.5. It was still a good movie, and I would still recommend it. But I don't think like the kind of listen. I think it's called a soliloquy when he's like kind of, when he's talking to himself.
Yeah,
Isn't as successful. I think if he was like actually speaking out loud, it would have been better as opposed to like having like this kind of like the mental conversation with the soliloquy in his mind. Um,
I think the reason, like, I think the reason that they it was done that way is because, I mean, we're on this journey with David, and or and like, let's say like this was you on the road by yourself, like, there's no one here. It's like kind of you in this truck, and it's like you're gonna be having internal thoughts. You're not gonna be like talking out loud to yourself.
well, I mean, right, but I think it because there are moments where he does talk out loud to himself, but then like him switching back to like that internal like monologue soliloquy thing. Um, I think it's just kind of inconsistent because yeah, I understand like uh, him kind of talking it through out loud, but then not to have scenes where he talks it out loud again. It, it's kind of
I
inconsistent.
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, I see.
Right. Yeah, especially like in the earlier scenes, like it kind of establishes him like talking out loud, kind of working things out, because like the initial kind of like the meet cute of this movie where where David and the trucker like first have their interaction, and he's like, he speaks out loud like, oh, like about commenting on like all the smog that the truck produces, like, oh, all that pollution, you know,
Yeah,
as opposed to thinking it in his head. I just think it's because of that. Like, I'm just knocking it for that one inconsistency in the character.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. I see what you're
So yeah, that's our review for Duel. Robert gives it a 4.5. I give it a 3.5. It's still a good movie. Still recommend you watch it, especially if you consider yourself to be a Spielberg fan. His
Oh yeah,
directorial debut. It should if you consider yourself a Spielberg fan, it should be on the list. That's all I'm saying.
yes sir.
All right, we have come to the end of the show. I hope you guys were entertained. I hope you guys were able to forget your troubles, or maybe we provided a different perspective for you on kind of the happenings going on in the world, on Michael Jordan, or this movie that I'm sure not a lot of you have seen, but hopefully after we discussed it and we talked about it, you'll be intrigued enough to go watch it for yourself. Um, Yeah, don't forget we do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. ish. Although lately we've been getting a little bit better. Um, even with Rob's whacked out work schedule, I think we're doing better than usual. Don't forget to catch. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and LetterboxD at PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you, and let's do it again next week. Have a good
Sounds like a
night.
plan to me.